All right, so today we're going to show you how to diagnose and repair a 6000 EL Hirschmann antenna that was used by Mercedes from 1984 up until about 1994 in some models. The first one it replaced was the 6000U, and these just had circuits. There was no ECU, and they filled with water, and this is kind of, most of them are like that. This is original 6000 EL that you'll see. There may be some W123s that had the prior version in 84, maybe even 85, but I've seen the EL in the 123. This is from a W126. You can see the much longer aluminum post. In 1990, thereabouts, they switched up a little bit. So the original 6000 EL had a connector like this. Is from the donor with 5 pins on top here. And in about 1990, they switched the wiring to 3 pins. Another change you'll notice, the early ones did not have this little metal clasp. They just had this washer. I think that they added that to prevent this moving too much. Also, the ECU changed. So this is an early one that caught fire. That's pretty common. You can see the wiring going here and here. 1990, the wiring just went to this side. They got rid of these. And then in about 90, 91, they added this, looks like cinnamon roll frosting to try to, I think, keep the heat off. But you can see this one caught fire too. There's a couple burned up ones. So that's the main change between the two. So the wiring is different. So you want to make sure you're getting the right one if you buy a used one. In 1990, they also started adding the cell phone technology. So you'll see if it has this, it's supposed to have a black tip antenna. So this is an Uro. Let's see the black tip. This black upper portion's black. The prior ones have a Hirschmann H on them on the top. I don't know if you can see that, but there's an H and a number. So what can go wrong on these? So you plug it in. I've got a 12-volt source. It's a great way to test them. And it makes no sound whatsoever. The culprit's pretty much the ECU. That's 99% of the time. I'll show you. This is a bin of bad ECUs I've got. You can find one at a junkyard and test it there, but I think on eBay they go for 100. I sell completely refurbished antennas for any Mercedes from the 80s and 90s for 150 on eBay. You can search DEMICHAE username. I'd probably recommend doing that just because the ECUs are hard to get when they're working. So that's the number one thing. If it doesn't make any sound, 99% of the time it's that. With the caveat, I have found bad motors. So don't throw that away without checking that. There's a green and a red, just plug them in, make sure it turns. So if your antenna is making noise, then it's not pushing the antenna up and down. It could be a bent or stuck antenna mast. So these could be bent, preventing it from moving. Like I can pull on these as hard as I can, even though they look good and it doesn't come up all the way. And if these sat for a long time, they builds up corrosion on the inside. I've tried everything, and about 75% of the time, I cannot get them to raise and lower smoothly. So they're just garbage. If that's not the problem, it's just you hear it moving and nothing's happening, the number one culprit are these plastic gears. So this is what it's supposed to look like. It's got this metal thing around it, plastic here and plastic here. They break. So this one broke. This one broke. You can see the guy tried to screw that in. These are just gone. That's a pretty easy fix. So definitely doable. I'll show you how to do it. If that's not the problem, it could be a broken belt. So this is kind of common too. So this could all be working fine, but the belt's not turning it. So that could be a problem. I've got those on eBay. If your antenna you turn it on and you hear the motor turning, it takes about 5 seconds before it goes up, then it likely culprit is that this tension spring is broken. You can see this is broken. The one that goes in here. So it has to circle around before it hits and then it goes up. Same thing going down. Again, that's an easy fix. That's the main issues you're gonna encounter. So these are kind of my hall of shame. If the antenna mast is the problem, just go buy a Euro one, a Euro, whatever this is called. It's not gonna, if you have a prior one, it's not gonna have the H on the tip, but it's just really hard to find a used actual Hirschmann one that slides in and out easily. If you find one, fine. I think the new ones I see on eBay, they say they're original, they're like $100. The only downside on aftermarket ones, this is a Chinese one, you see on Amazon. See how the plastic gets all bent up? And that's obviously a problem, but that took a long time to happen. So, another thing. So once the 6000 EL was replaced by the KE in around 1992, if your antenna broke in, say, 1996, the dealer would install the later one. What they've done is added the longer mast and just used the same bracket. But they added this adapter. This is a Mercedes adapter right here that goes into the 5-pin. There's also one I've got here. This is for the 3-pin. So you can do that, you just gotta figure out the right length. This has gotta stick out exactly, or you're gonna have leaks and it's gonna look terrible. But that is an option, because this is a lot easier to fix. And then you just unscrew this to get to the gear. They use the same gear. I mean, 14, 15, I think they had this up to 2000, 2001, and they knew that was a problem. Very odd. But right now we're gonna troubleshoot this one. The motor works, no antenna movement. So we can guess what that is. The mast only goes up halfway on this one. Interesting. That could be a jam mast. And then this one will not go up. That could be a mast problem. So I'll show you how to open these up and quickly fix them. Okay, so the first one we're gonna work on is a 6000 EL from a 85 R107. That's a SL. When we test it, doesn't do anything. So that's either the antenna's jammed shut, which I don't think is the case, the gear is broken, or the belt is broken. So we've got to open this up, and I've already opened these up because they're kind of a pain. But what you want to do is press these tabs in, not with the thumbs, without breaking these vents. So you need to press them in. In opening this one up, I broke 2, and I've opened up hundreds of these cases, and I rarely break them, but this one was just really tight. So you'll see it's missing this piece. So if you do enough of those, then you're going to use straps around it. It looks terrible. So be really careful. So take a thin flathead. We're going to get it in there and press it down. It's fighting me. This is a lot easier than most. So you don't want to break this part. You're pressing down on the tab. And just keep working it. All right, so it's not the belt, so I guarantee it's this. So this is held in with a little C-clamp, and I use a thick flathead Phillips to push it off, but you don't want this thing to go flying. So just get it a little bit. Can you get in there and show them the C clamp? They usually have this pressed against the pieces. It's usually not this hard, but there we go. All right. So again, if you have a later model, it's going to be a little different. With the motor, it's going to have that the two things in a clamp, but this doesn't have it because it's early. Put all your parts over here, and it's not this. Ah, there's a telltale sign. It is the antenna. So this was fine. So what we have to do to get our broken antenna out. First, it's usually a 12. It's just gonna pull out. Well, that's really a problem. So we're gonna flip this over. To get that gear back on, you don't want to lay this flat back down yet, and you want to line up these rubber little like feet. There's 3 of them. So we're going to put the gear back in. So we know the gear is not the problem. Line it up. Put it in there. Oh, that's upside down. Sure this is right. All right. That, and it's much easier if you're holding the bottom to get that C clamp back on versus trying to jam it down when it's flat. So you just take the big flathead. Now, I'm making sure the rubber feet are there. All right, so we're gonna take an aftermarket Uro antenna. And feed it in there. Okay, I'm gonna show you something real quick. So if you're holding this while it's going in right here, this is gonna crush your finger. It's happened to me where it's shut, and it is unbearably painful. It took like 2 weeks to heal. It's like a cut crush, so don't do that. Let's just make sure it works. Make sure which is down. Never know which ones are. That's good. Here we go. All right, one working. Now there's 3 bumpers here again, so you want to make sure they're lined up.